Jai Shri Ram.
Jai Shri Ram. How are you?
Uh, Very well. How are you, G?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm just trying to get this set up. Let's
No
see.
worries. You take your time.
Okay, I'm going to flip it this way.
Beautiful.
And how's this?
Wow, such a nice altar.
Oh, thank you.
Wow,
Can
wow,
you?
wow. I've been watching everything that you've been doing this morning. All those that are joining in, I hope you've also been tuning in from wherever in the world. That Bhakti Yoga Shala, they've been sharing such beautiful offerings. And yeah, I'm so blessed and so honored and so grateful that you've taken time out to spend with all of us from this side of the world and also from yours as well.
Oh, man, it is such a gift to be with you. I have been watching your videos and I absolutely love them as well. Through your conversations, you've had such tremendous guests on. We have never
Yeah.
really even, I don't think, talked in person. We've shared a lot of exchanges
No.
on Instagram but just been following you from afar, and it's really a gift for me to be able to be here and sit with you today. So thank you so
No,
much for inviting me.
it's right back at you. The appreciation from across the pond. We've been watching everything that you do, and it's really so graceful, full of grace. Ram has really blessed you,
Oh,
and
thank
yeah, it's just such an honor to speak with you. For those of you that don't know Govindji, you've probably been hiding under a rock because this personality is someone that's been sharing for so many years. He actually came in contact. I read his bio a little bit before this conversation. He got in touch with Bhakti, and you have to correct me if I'm wrong, in the 90s. And since then has been kind of following this journey and practicing Bhakti Yoga, chanting the name of Sri Ram, but also sharing yoga asana with his beautiful wife. And also his children are also awesome. They're Bhakti yogis as well. And it's beautiful to see the journey. And so many mutual friends actually from across the world have said that this is going to be an exciting conversation. And even if they can't join us live, they'll be joining us for the replay.
you.
Personalities like Sam Garrett, I think he came in
Oh,
and
yeah, I saw you had Sam Garrett on yesterday. What an
yeah,
amazing brother and singer he is. He's
yeah.
tremendous.
And a personal friend, Charlie Kelly, humble warrior. He's been
Yes.
he's been glorifying you since the last 2 3 years. Every time I
Oh,
mention your name, he's like, "This is someone that I really need to spend some time with."
oh, great, great, great. Well, it's just really great to meet you like this, and I know we were supposed to not meet, but we spoke about possibly meeting in Vrindavan
Yeah,
earlier
right.
last year, and I think you get there and you get so lost
Yeah, just
in the ecstasy of Krishna, and Radha. Oh
yeah, for
wow, here
sure,
we are.
for
Here we
sure.
are. Yeah.
Yeah,
How's
Sri Ram
everything
is
there?
arranged.
How's everything in London? You're
Everything's good. Today being Ram Navami, I've been trying to spend more time with reading about Sri Ram, trying to
yeah.
spend more time chanting his name. But I think that you just kind of miss the association of all the, sadhakas. I'm missing that sangha right now.
Yeah.
And so I'm trying to keep, my mind placed in a place where I can be with that vibration, with that energy, but it is difficult, I have to admit. I don't know how have you been finding it? It's just started for you, so
Yeah, yeah. Well, it just started, but one sec.
no worries.
Just needed to close the door.
That's
Otherwise, the
cool.
kids will come in here and start
That's
trying to
cool.
wrestle or something like that.
I'm
um,
into it.
it's I mean, like it's been really tough as a whole on some level. I mean, just the instability and insecurity of all this stuff. But,
Mm,
on another level, it's been just a real blessing to come together with just the global satsang, and
mm,
what we do and sharing these practices, and people are joining in and being a part of it. And it's been wonderful on some level as well too. And I think just with the world slowing down is has been a gift to all of us, because I don't know about you, but for myself, the last year or two, everything just has felt like it's just hit a point where it's just all moving too fast,
wow.
and it's all it felt like it was about to burst on some level. And I think this somehow, some way, got us to all slow down and stay
Mm,
at home and get back to really simple living, which Did you ever meet Sham Das?
No, not in person.
He was one of our wonderful teachers, but I remember him many years ago. I was with him at Govardhan, and we were all just sitting. He had a beautiful house, a little home right there at Jatipura, and we
Mm.
were sitting on his roof, and we were chanting, and he said something. It just struck me. He said, "It's in simplicity that's where we find peace." I mean,
Mm.
we all know this, but we forget this, and we've been racing around like crazy people, especially with technology speeding everything up. But this has forced us to really simplify our lives and stay close to home. And on some level, it's been a tremendous jewel and gift in my life. So uh, here we are.
It's so beautiful for you for me to hear you speak like that, because I'm trying to see the blessings. I'm trying to see divinity. Trying to see grace in these moments. And there's glimpses for sure. There's moments where I really appreciate the opportunity to slow down, to be able to do all the sadhana that I really wanted to do, to be able to
Yeah.
read from the sastra, to be able to chant more with some quality. But at the same time, there's been always kind of, I think it's just the mind is trying to catch up with this mood of slow it down, bring it
Yeah.
back to, the ground, be patient, be peaceful. And yeah, I think that it's time. I think maybe another week and I might be in that space where I feel finally yeah, my mind is caught up with where my body really needs to be right now. So,
And I heard you talking about your mom the other day. You live with your mom?
yeah, so we've got a nice place in London where all of us can stay together. And the purpose was because I wanted to try and follow something that Baba Ramdas actually shared, which was that if you really want to see how exalted you are, how spiritual you are, spend time with your family.
One of my
And so,
all-time favorite quotes.
yeah, right. So,
All-time favorite quotes. And boy, am I feeling it now.
yeah,
Because
completely.
I have two kids, and my wife, we are together all day long, except when I'm on these basically Instagram live sessions.
Right.
And there's nothing like family that can push our buttons, right? I
Nothing,
mean,
right.
we come from that same place, or at least on a material level, like the blood is the same. And so, ah, gosh, it's been
Yeah,
so
yeah.
intense at times, but absolutely beautiful at times as well, too.
For sure, for sure. I wanted to actually ask you a question on kind of the Bhakti Yoga path that you have found yourself on over the last well, I'd say couple of years. I was going to say a couple of decades. I wanted to see where that started for you because I tried to find information, but it was just giving me dates. So I wanted to see whether there were some experiences because I know that with many people, spirituality or bhakti it comes from a moment in time where you either come in association with a spiritual person, a spiritually
Yes.
minded person, or it's something in your life that's just really shifted that, due to whatever different situations perhaps. So I'm sure many people will be interested. I'm sure many people already know, but for my benefit and those that don't.
Well, for myself, where it all started, exactly who you mentioned just a moment ago was with Baba Ram Das.
Oh,
Yes. And, I was already in the early 90s, I was already practicing Hatha Yoga. And I was in Florida with my parents about to drive up to New York to see a friend. And a friend and another friend in Florida said, "Here, you need to listen to this audio tape." It was an audio cassette back then, before CDs, right?
right.
This was about 1990, 1994, 95, something around that
Wow.
time. And it was an audio tape of one of Ram Dass's lectures. And in the lecture he was speaking about bhakti the whole time. And it was one of those life-changing moments where when you hear just maybe it's a word or a phrase or the whole trajectory of your life shifts in a moment. And I was practicing yoga at the time, but when I heard about bhakti, it was like, that is my path. This is
Mm.
what I want to dedicate my life to. And So I, got more Ram Dass tapes at that time. A little bit later, I was introduced to Krishna Das and Neem Karoli Baba and Bhagavan Das, and this is where my path was opened up for me. And since then, that's been the journey that I've been following, and these have been my teachers and guides. And Neem Karoli Baba I take as my guru, and it's very interesting because in different than say ISKCON, there's no organization to our path. It's like it's completely unorganized. There's no structure to it whatsoever, which on one thing is quite challenging. On one level is quite challenging. Because I think we all seek to have that organization on some level to help us along the way, to keep stepping further along the way. Yet on the other level, it's been, something quite beautiful about it as well too, is that you just have to follow your own heart. You just have to trust your own heart every step of the way, and obviously follow what these great teachers have laid out for us. And one of my teachers has been Raghu Marcus. I'm not sure if you know Raghu Marcus, but he runs the Here Now Foundation. All of Ram Dass's work he actually runs, and he's been a really big inspiration for me as well too. And so beautiful. And of course, going to India and staying in Neem Karoli Baba's ashrams. Neem Karoli Baba's been passed away since 1973. And so to have a guru that's not living in a body anymore is a really interesting journey. But, on the same level, there was an elder devotee named K.K. Sa. And I'm not sure if you've heard of him or not, but he was with Neem Karoli Baba as a little child. He sat on Maharaji's lap as a little child, and he just passed away actually about a month and a half ago. He left his body. And he basically opened up the doors for the Westerners to come be with Neem Karoli Baba. And he said the greatest miracle now in relation to Neem Karoli Baba is that all of these people that have never met Neem Karoli Baba are being touched by his grace. That he passed away almost 50 years ago, and his energy and his grace and his love is still touching so many people. And I think obviously on a much smaller level, like Jesus, how many years ago, 2,000 years ago, did Jesus pass away? But still people are being touched by him and taking refuge in his love and his grace. And a very similar thing, again, on a much smaller level, is happening with Neem Karoli Baba. And it's one of my favorite quotes from, I believe it was Swami Shivananda. He said, "The great saints are not dead. They are still alive. They are as alive as ever. Go ahead and meet them. Go forth and meet them." So the Ramakrishnas, the Prabhupads, the Neem Karoli Babas, the Vivekanandas, all of these great saints, if we step towards them, they are still stepping towards us, even though physically they may not be here. It takes just that bhakti, that devotion, and we can feel their presence in our life guiding us.
For sure. This principle is there in the Bhakti text, that there are two types of guru. One is the Diksha Guru, and the other is the Siksha Guru. And the Diksha Guru is, one which most people can meet in their lifetimes, or if not even in physical presence, then even through dreams or etc. And the Siksha Guru can be anywhere. Even a tree could be your Siksha Guru. Anything that gives you Siksha, instruction, any teachings. And so it's always beautiful to hear, because I have some friends also who have, they're spiritual teachers who have passed away, who have left their bodies. And I'm always intrigued because my guru, my spiritual master, he is still with us. And I'm super grateful and super blessed for that. But I wanted to ask you a little bit, because this is a wonderful opportunity. Actually, we've got onto this topic quite naturally, about your connection with the spiritual teacher, with your guru. When there's no physical proximity, how do you how do you connect with him? How do you see his instructions in your life? And any sort of teachings you have on this, it would be a great blessing for me to hear that.
Oh, what a beautiful conversation to have. Well, first of all, where I met him in a dream, that was my first real darshan.
Wow.
Where in the dream, I was like, my head was down, seated at his, I mean, he was seated, my head was in his lap. He was patting me on the head, giggling, 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 and I was crying my eyes out. And the more I cried, the more he laughed. And I woke up from the dream, and it was one of those experiences that felt more real than any experience I've ever had in the physical third dimensional world.
Wow.
And it was in that dream that I felt like I had found home.
Wow.
You know, at a, you know, I was on this path of yoga. I was, you know, and there's obviously in the path of yoga, there's so much, there's so many different ways to turn. There's so many different styles of yoga practice. And then when I had this dream with Maharaji, I knew I didn't have to like seek anymore, that I had found home. I just need to follow this teacher's instructions. And the instructions are really simple. You know, love everyone, serve everyone, and remember God.
Mm-hmm.
You know, these types of instructions. I'm not sure, maybe some of you all have heard, you know, back in the day, the devotees, they asked Maharaji, how do we awaken our Kundalini? And his response was, feed people. You know, not
Beautiful.
do some crazy breathing technique, but everything, you know, he says, how, they asked, how do we get enlightened? He said, love everyone.
Mm-hmm.
So these very simple but pure teachings that touched my heart, you know, very deeply. And I heard these types of teachings, and it was just like my whole being said, yes, yes,
Wow.
yes. I told Raghu Marcus, who I was just mentioning a moment
Mm-hmm.
ago, I told him about this dream, and he said, you know what, you may want to put a picture of him in at your altar and meditate with him and talk to him and uh, just open up to his energy. And so that's what I did. And that was 25 plus years ago. And here we are. The picture, I don't know if you can see, is still here at my
Yeah.
altar and at every altar in my house. But, you know, Sham Das, he talked about Maharaji as a picture Baba.
Mm.
That's what he called him. He
A
said,
picture
you can
Baba.
have picture Baba. He said, you can have his darshan just by looking at his picture,
Wow.
which I thought was really interesting. And that's what so many people around the world now are experiencing in relation to him. So
Mm.
how do I, you know, receive his instruction? It's really an interesting inner type of a thing, is that he
Mm.
lives inside of me, and I look at his picture, and with any questions that I may have, and I guess the way it is, it's the same way that you would work with a murti, a statue of some sort of a god, is that the picture of him, in the same way that the statue, it's a physical manifestation of the energy. And
Mm.
you know, every day I do my simple puja and arti to him and make my offerings, and he is a reflection of just pure truth, as the guru is, right? The guru is that energy of living truth, whether that guru is living in an embodied form, or of course
Mm.
is now beyond form. So that, and it shows up in me just as guidance from within. His picture reflects back to me the guru within myself, and that reveals the safety, the protection, the refuge, the guidance, the, you know, the love of it all.
Yeah, yeah.
So I don't know if that makes
No,
sense.
for sure, for sure. I mean, I can
So
relate on the level because my spiritual teacher's guru, his spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada, I've never met him. He left the planet in 1977, and so for me, this acharya, this teacher who lived by his example, someone who is revered in Bhakti, in the ISKCON movement, is someone that I never met, someone that I never physically got in contact with. Maybe in a previous life, there may have been, but in this lifetime for sure, no contact. And so for years, I kind of battled with this inner dialogue of how do I connect with him? And I came to the conclusion that through the Murti is the access point in Vrindavan. I'm sure you're aware in the Krishna Balaram Mandir, there's this there's his samadhi, his resting place, and the place where this huge Murti is there of Srila Prabhupada. And I don't know what it was, but the first time I went to Vrindavan as a teenager, I remember going to that space and just thinking, even though I didn't know that he was resting there, I didn't know this, but just entering into that space, this vibration was coming. And so for sure, through the Murti, I was feeling this connection. And then beyond that, through, as you mentioned, through teachings, through other devotees or other personalities that have met this person, then you can sometimes feel that energy still. Like, I don't know whether I'm just thinking I'm in La La Land or whatever it is, but just by speaking to you, even though we're not in physical proximity, I'm getting this vibe of, you know, you're such a spiritual minded person, someone who's very deeply rooted in his sadhana and his bhakti. And it just emanates, it almost comes through the screen. And I'm sure many people are watching this and thinking it's probably true. I was watching, for example, just now, the Hanuman Chalisa that you were singing, and I had it pumping in my house. It was so beautiful. It was just so, so nice, the energy of that sound vibration coming through. And maybe on that topic, I wanted to ask you how your devotion to Hanuman grew, because as a child, I also had that same connection. And so I wanted to see where it started for you, where your love for Hanuman came. Yeah.
well, you know, it's an auspicious day to be talking about this, of
Right.
course, well, too. And going back to what you were just saying, when you were talking, you brought me to Vrindavan
Right.
about the Krishna Balaram Mandir, and I was just there a few months ago with, yeah, I'm sure you know Vrindavan Kirtan Das, and what
Yeah,
a
right.
and we were just walking through our group, and he was
Wow.
teaching our group about, you know, about Prabhupada
Wow.
and about the Mandir, and just you speaking, I mean, I was just brought right there. It's
Today's
Bhakti Is
auspicious because today is
Contagious
the day where that
today.
temple was opened, Ram
Really?
Navami, 1973.
Wow, I'm
So,
getting chills in my body actually right now, hearing you say that. You know, I mean, that old saying, I think I heard Krishna Das say this once, that bhakti is contagious.
mm,
Get it from those who have it. Right?
mm,
Isn't that a great
completely,
saying?
completely.
And whatever little bit I have, and you know, I say little bit because I am just stumbling on the way. I look at you, and I look at so many of my other friends that are, you know, sincere bhaktas, and I think of myself as just just stumbling along this path. And I hear the way you sing kirtan, and so many other dear friends, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, I have no qualifications to be
Oh, wow, this is
doing
my
this
feeling towards you. I'm feeling totally
whatsoever. I
humbled here.
hear your kirtan last night. It was just so beautiful. The Radha Govinda kirtan, I believe it was, Radha Raman kirtan that you sung last night. I listened for about a half hour. It was just so beautiful. And so anyways, this meeting of the heart is such a gift for me in my life, and just to be in Sangha as well too. But around Hanuman, you know, Neem Karoli Baba was said to be an incarnation of Hanuman. And so, you know, the elder Neem Karoli Baba devotees, they introduced us to the Hanuman Chalisa. And in the Chalisa is 40 verses to Hanuman. And as a dear friend describes it, as the prayer, the poem, and the promise. In the Chalisas, many different verses describing the leelas and the plays of Hanuman and what happens if you chant this. You know, you know, like line 20, Durga Makaja Jagatike Jete Sugama Nugraha Tumare Tete. Every difficult task becomes easy by your grace. You know, or line 25, Nase Roga Hare Sabapira Japatani Rantara Hanumatabira. Right? By repeating your name, brave Hanuman, all ills and diseases eradicated, these types of things. So, you know, I heard this, and interesting, on Krishna Das' Live on Earth CD that he released many, many years ago. I was listening to the Chalisa. I was driving down the road, and I, you know, feel like I had Hanuman's darshan in that moment, like something overcame me, and I felt the presence of this love and this grace, whether it's Maharaji or Hanuman, you know, of the same. Maharaji was considered to be an incarnation of Hanuman. So, you know, for me, chanting the Chalisa is just the doorway into that grace and love of Hanuman. And you know, Hanuman teaches us to be, teaches us dasya bhava, you know, to live in the mood of service. You know, to first and foremost live, you know, and which is, I so love in the teachings that I've received so much, especially from the Gaudiya path, that our right relationship of the soul to Krishna's is to not to be Krishna, but to serve Krishna. That's the right relationship. And you know, Hanuman in the same teaches us to live our life in the spirit of serving Lord Ram. And you know, I grew up in a home where it wasn't none of this. I grew up in a very material home, you know, probably different than you would. It sounds like you were brought into this bhakti tradition at a very young age. I was very different, although my parents were incredibly loving, and I had such an incredible childhood. You know, it wasn't the spirit of service. There was none of that. If anything, you know, in the material world, it's like, how can I get other people to serve me? You know what I mean? Like, that's the material mindset of Kali Yuga, the world that we live in. It certainly isn't, how can I be humble and serve others? So when I came to these teachings, it was just like a whole world opened up. And it just makes so much sense that this is how we purify our own hearts through the spirit of service. How do we serve God? We serve God's children. And the great quote from God, that means serve each other. And that, and one of Gandhi's great quotes, right? The greatest way to find ourselves is to lose ourselves in the spirit of serving others. And I can't remember who said this, but I heard someone at Bhakti Fest many, many years ago say this quote from Srila Prabhupada, that the greatest joy you will ever find in your life is in serving God. And I find that to be true. You know, I've experienced that. It's in service somehow. We remove those stains of egoism and pride and lust and anger and resentment and all the stuff that we live in the spirit of service. It just wipes the dust off the mirror of the mind and the heart, you know, those crazy misperceptions, and that we get so easily deluded by the distorted perceptions of, you know, living only in a material world. Well, thank God we've been given these other teachings and this other path.
To hear you speak brings tears to the eyes, and the heart is really overflowing right now. It's so beautiful to hear you speak so poetically and so much with bhakti, with so much love. And I think it's testament to you and your lifestyle, because I think that from my perspective, from how I see you, and from all the wonderful services that you're giving to the world, I see that you're someone that has understood this quote that Radhanath Swami, I don't know if you've met Radhanath Swami,
Of course,
but
he's
he
a
speaks this
good.
wonderful quote that by accumulating things, by getting objects, by accumulating more and more material items in our life, we make a living. But by giving, by serving, that's the way in which we can make a life.
Mm,
And I think that this dasya bhav, this mood of servant, that it's almost contrary to how the world is programmed. That
yes.
the world is really aiming and pushing us to become God. That I am number one. Have you
Yeah.
seen? Do you know who I am? This mood of I, me, myself, and mine. And when we can somehow, by grace, come to this perspective that um, I am but a servant, I am but someone who's trying to seek shelter in divinity and grace in God, and be able to become an instrument of that service to try and become a person who is of value through their service to others, through their brothers and sisters in this world, then it opens a whole new dimension. And you mentioned about your family, and I think the same thing goes for me, because my family, even though they were pious Hindus from background, um, when I asked the question, why do we do this? Why is this sadhana, etc., there was no answering. And so my darkened eyes were opened by the grace of my spiritual teacher and his spiritual teacher also. I'm very grateful for him as well. I wanted to ask you a question on your chanting, because I noticed that you were mentioning in your previous live, maybe an hour ago, you were sharing some quotes on the nectarian qualities of Ram's name.
Mm,
And today being Ram Navami, it's almost apt that we have to speak about this.
yeah.
I don't know if I didn't catch the title of that book, but there was some lines in there that just completely, I was in awe. There was one where it said,
Uh,
sweeter than nectar, honey,
yeah.
and I can't remember.
I would
Maybe you can finish it
love
off.
to. Maybe this can get us just into the topic of japa. But before we go back, I would love to revisit just one thing really quick
Please, please.
about the I heard you and Genevieve Harrison a few days ago talking about the same thing about you know people portray themselves on Instagram
Yeah,
as like being the master, being so
yeah.
great. Look at how great I am. And and the mood of this dasya bhav and this path of bhakti, I think as a whole is that we don't want to be the master. There's only
Mm,
truly one master, right? Bhagavan, only one master. Let's be the humble servant of the
mm,
master. And it's in this new age movement. Master this, master this, master this. Everything is about being the master. And it just, from a certain perspective, it seems so artificial and, of
right.
course, egoic. But, we just have to consider what's happening in the world right now. And this is why I think bhakti is
Mm,
so refreshing, because of its humble approach to spirituality, that we're not trying to become God, nor do we ever want to become God, because that's not the natural relationship.
mm,
We are a part and parcel. We are a wave in the ocean, right? As Sri Chaitanya Prabhu gave us this beautiful teaching. We're a wave. We have a drop of that, but that's not who we are. Let us just live in that spirit of loving service. And yeah, how refreshing that is. So let me grab this book that's right
yeah.
here. And actually, I have it opened up to this page. Um, and it's about, you know, uh, as we've all heard, the names of Hari. This is the most direct form of yoga in Kali Yuga that we're living in. And obviously, Ram and Krishna are inseparable. They are one. They are of the same. And so about the name Ram. Sweeter than sugar, tastier than curd, sweeter indeed than honey is the name of Ram. constant repetition of this sweet name gives one the taste of divine nectar. Therefore, chant the name Ram constantly. So that says it, you know. And the same with the name Krishna, of course. It is that nectarian vibration that lies within the holy name. And something I always love that Radhanath Swami says, it's the most direct association that we have with Ram or Krishna himself is through the holy name. And that's why we're instructed to just keep these names in our mind, on our lips, and in our hearts at all times, and keep our japa practice going and sing the praises through the practice of Kirtan.
Nama Chintamani Krishna Chaitanya Rasa Vigraha Purna Shuddho Nitya Mukto Binatva Nama Namino. This verse is Nama Chintamani Krishna, that this name, these holy names are like Chintamani, like touchstones. You know, when that King Midas story, that ancient Greek story where the stone touches anything, it turns to gold. And so Chintamani is, that's like Chinta means what you think of, and mani is it becomes. So by just chanting these names, it becomes like a treasure chest of love within the heart. And Purna Shuddha Nitya Mukto Binatvan, the name is non-different from the personality themselves. So chanting Ram, by emanating that sound vibration coming from the lips, immediately we're in the presence of divinity. We're in that presence. We're immediately in that atmosphere. There's no difference between the name. So
between the name and that which is being named.
Yeah. I wanted to ask, because this is a golden opportunity, and I wanted to see if you wanted to chant with us all. Anything, even if it's the Chalisa, if you wanted to chant, or you wanted to chant a Ram Bhajan, then more than welcome. But today is Ram Navami, so on this auspicious day, it would be a blessing for all of us, I think, to hear you chant.
Oh, wow. Well, I mean, we can certainly do a Chalisa, but that's longer, or we can do a little Shri Ram Jai Ram Kirtan, or
Shri Ram Jai Ram.
That might be the best for today, right?
Yeah.
So
I think we need to do another one of these sessions. An hour is not long enough.
No, it's not. Oh, this is so beautiful to be with you. You are just beautiful human being. I'm really, really grateful for you and your presence in my life and around the world. And these daily interviews that you're doing are just tremendous. They're really.
It's a service. It's a service.
So you can't see it, but I have a harmonium in front of me. Because of the auspiciousness of this day today, let's just chant Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram Sita Ram Sita Ram Sita Ram Sita Ram. Do you want to sing response? I don't know. Would that even
I think
work?
the delay will be there, so I'll have to put myself on mute, but I'll be singing here.
I don't know. I'm hearing you in perfect time, actually.
Oh, really? I don't know how it worked. I'll try a few times. Let's see how it goes.
Yeah. Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram.
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 Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Ram.
Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram.
Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram.
Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram.
Shri Ram.
Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram.
Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram.
Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram.
Sita Ram Jai Sita 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 Ram.
Oh, Sita Ram Jai Sita Ram.
Sita Ram Jai Sita Ram.
Sita Ram Jai Sita Ram.
Sita Ram Jaya Sita Ram.
Jai Hanuman, Jai Hanuman.
Jai Hanuman, Jai Jai Hanuman.
Jai Hanuman, Jai Baba Hanuman.
Jai Hanuman, Jai Hanuman, Jai Baba Hanuman.
Jai Hanuman, Jai Baba Hanuman.
Jai Hanuman, Jai Baba Hanuman.
Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram.
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 Syavara Ramachandra ki.
Jai.
Virtual Kirtan.
First one I've ever done. Thank you so much. I was so sure that it wasn't going to work. I don't know whether the sound was okay. Maybe, guys, if it was really bad, please let us know. But I tried my best on my side.
That's classic. No, you did great. I felt it. It was right back and forth.
Wow, thank you so much. I wanted to see actually if you had any closing thoughts, anything that you wanted to share that you felt was of real value, maybe today, because people who are watching from your side of the world, this is just the start of their day. So maybe a teaching or something that you wanted to inspire people to try and practice today, or maybe something for our time, anything, any words of advice or inspiration for people of our time.
Well, I think, especially in the time that we're living in, something that we've been talking about a lot on our streams is the 3 S's.
Mm-hmm.
Sadhana, Seva, and Sangha. And the importance of these, not just today, but every day, and especially in this coronavirus time that we find ourselves in. Sadhana is, of course, doing a daily practice of some sorts, and whatever your practice is, whether that's yoga asana or chanting the Maha Mantra or chanting the chanting the Hanuman Chalisa or sitting in meditation, or do some kind of sadhana.
Mm-hmm.
This is where we can reshape ourselves. This is where we can this is where we can come back home. We can come back to our hearts. We can meet the Lord within our hearts through doing some type of a practice. We have to do some type of practice. This is where we can interrupt just the constant egoic thought in our minds. The stories, the programming, the conditioning, we can interrupt that and create space for true bhakti, for love, for prema, for love for God to begin to well up and emerge within ourselves. So do some type of a sadhana. That's the first S. The second S is seva. which is what we've been talking about, Dasya Bhav, live in the spirit of service. Do your part, whatever that is, to make this world a better place. Be a beneficial energy to all others. And how can we start that? You know, one, by taking responsibility for our thoughts, for our words, and through our actions. Just in this coronavirus time where we're all isolated from each other, take responsibility for your thoughts. That is just great seva in and of itself, to keep your own vibration high, right? The yogis have always been looked to as very important vehicles for keeping the balance of the universe through their prayers, through their sadhana, of being a beneficial energy to the planet through just by simply doing what they do. So this is where we come in, and we have to keep our vibration high through this time that we find ourselves living in. And then, of course, the last is Sangha, or Satsang. And as I love Ram Dass's definition of Satsang is my very favorite. He calls it soul family. You know, your soul family is those who you come together with, whether coming together here as a group of people listening to conversation. Soul family is to help us remember who we really are, because so easily we forget. We think we are our bodies. We think we are this ego. We think we are our thoughts. And our reflection for each other helps us to remember who we are as eternal spiritual beings. So these three S's is maybe what I could give to everybody. Sadhana, do your practice. Seva, live as a beneficial energy to all others. And satsang, join in your soul family. There's so many. I saw Bibi Govinda Swami last night chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. Join in with them. Be in that satsang. Be with Radhika Dasa's satsangs every day and these conversations. Come join our Hanuman Chalisa satsang every morning, or our Kirtan every night. And, this is where we can take shelter and take refuge in Sangha, that is the doorway, of course, into the beloved one. So
beautiful, beautiful. There you go, guys. Sadhana, seva, sangha. You can almost make a checklist, if you like, every day. Are you doing these things? If not, then what area of life that you really need to invest in. It's such a nice, clear model. And I'll for sure be recording this and putting it up on YouTube for everyone that wants to watch this again. But don't worry, I'm gonna twist Govindji's arm to try and get another conversation, because I think this was too short. I feel like we need to have another one.
Anytime.
Please, it would be beautiful. But please show your appreciation, either virtually by pressing that love button, or if you want to fold your hands, but please share some blessings with our dear Govindji for all the wonderful seva that he's sharing with the world. Please bless him, that he may continue to do so, and that he may also bless us in return, that we may be able to do something with our lives that's of value to others. And let's pray, please, for everyone that's out there that's suffering, or that is really trying to help others also, that they may gain some strength in their efforts to either regain their health or to try and serve those who are suffering. And please, thank you once again to our dear Govindji for his time. I'm sure that there's so many things. You just come off 2-3 hours of being live on Instagram, and for that I'm almost humbled, and I wish I could prostrate and be an obeisance and a dandavat towards you, because to be able to do that and then straight away come here and to share such nectar, it was really our benefit, and I'm eternally grateful to you, dear brother.
Man, thank you so much. Please let me serve you however I can serve you in this lifetime and beyond. And I'm so grateful for our new, but what feels like will be lifetimes of friendship together. And I can't wait for the day that we meet in person so I can give you a big hug. Until that time, I give you a virtual hug, and I bow down at your feet for all of the beautiful gifts that you are sharing with the planet right now. And just the way that you hold yourself, truly, it is with such grace that you share this path of bhakti. And I'm really, really honored to be your friend. So thank you.
Thank you so much. Anyway, we must tune off here. I'm sure Govindji must go and get some breakfast and spend some time with his children, of course.
Yes. Yes, it's breakfast time for sure.
So thank you so
And
much for your
you
time.
have Kirtan now, right? You have Kirtan
Well,
now?
I've got another conversation happening with a monk from the Bhaktivedanta Manor starting at 7 o'clock.
Great,
But I've got a short period of time to just chant a few japa rounds that I've got left.
great,
And
great.
yeah, I'll just go for a little walk to digest our conversation because so many gems came there that I really want to try and
Mm.
digest it. I've written some things down as well. And you didn't notice me. I'm like looking at the screen, but I'm trying to note it down
Wonderful.
because so many gems came out for me there. But yeah, thank you. Enjoy your
Thank you.
breakfast.
You
Have a
too.
blessed day. Jai Shri Ram.
Jai Shri Ram. Much love. Thank you.
Thanks, brother.